morning, y'all. Today we're traveling back about 4,000 years to ancient Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, the cradle of civilization, and home to the world's first epic hero, Gilgamesh. Now, before we get started, what surprised you most about our ancient friend Gilgamesh? That's right, he ain't exactly what you'd call a perfect hero, is he? 2/3 God, 1/3 human, about 3/3 troublemaker. But that's exactly what makes this story so daggum interesting. It's messy, it's complicated, just like real life. I'm talking about the oldest story ever written. Think about that for a minute. Before Romeo and Juliet, before Odysseus, before Moses parted the Red Sea in written account, there was Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, terrorizing his people and searching for immortality. Now let's talk about how this story even survived to reach us. The Epic of Gilgamesh wasn't discovered until the 1800s, when archaeologists were digging around in what's now Iraq. They found these clay tablets covered in tiny marks called cuneiform. Looks like chicken scratch to me, but scholars eventually figured out how to read it. What they found wasn't one complete story, but fragments, pieces of the epic written down over centuries across different civilizations. The version we're reading is a modern patchwork translated from multiple sources and filled with scholarly best guesses where the tablets were damaged. Let's dig in to what the ancient epic is really about. First up, civilization versus nature. At the beginning of our story, what do we learn about Gilgamesh? He built them big walls around Uruk. These walls represent civilization, order, and humanity's attempt to control nature. But what happens when Enkidu shows up? This wild man covered in hair who lives with the animals. That's right. The gods create Enkidu as Gilgamesh's equal, his counterbalance. Enkidu represents the natural world, wild, untamed, and free. When these two force of nature fellas meet, they wrestle like two gators in a mud pit. Neither can best the other, though. And that's the first big lesson in Gilgamesh. Civilization and nature need each other. They're two sides of the same coin. This is where the story gets sweet. After Gil and Enkidu stop trying to kill each other, they become closer than two peas in a pod. Their friendship transforms both of them. Gil becomes less a tyrant, and Enkidu learns the ways of civilization. Now, some scholars argue there might be romantic love between the two of these guys, while others say it's just the deepest kind of friendship. Either way, their bond is the emotional heart of this epic. And here, my darlings, is where the rubber meets the road. After Enkidu dies, partly as punishment for our dynamic duo killing the bull of heaven and the forest guardian Humbaba, Gil goes plumb crazy with grief. He can't accept that death comes for us all. Isn't that just the most human thing? We send rockets to Mars and split atoms, but we still can't make peace with our own mortality. 4,000 years ago, Gil was wrestling with the same fear that keeps folks tossing and turning at night today. So what does our grief-stricken hero do? He sets off on the ultimate fool's errand, searching for immortality. He crosses the rivers of death to find Utnapishtim, the one human who was granted eternal life after surviving a great flood. Sound familiar to anyone? That's right. The flood story predates biblical account by centuries, though they share striking similarities. Joseph Campbell, who studied myths from all over the world, would call Gilgamesh's adventure a hero's journey. Our boy leaves the ordinary world, faces supernatural challenges, experiences a transformation, and returns changed. But here's the kicker. Gil fails in his quest. He doesn't get immortality. Instead, he gets wisdom. When Utnapishtim tells him about a plant at the bottom of the sea that can restore youth, Gilgamesh actually finds it. But then what happens? A sneaky snake steals it while he's taking a bath. Talk about adding insult to injury. But that setback gives us the epic's most profound message. Gil returns to Uruk empty-handed but full-hearted. He looks at those walls he built and finally sees what truly lasts in this world. Not our bodies, but our deeds, our stories, and our legacy. Y'all, when Gil started, he was running from death. By the end, he learned to live with it. And ain't that just the journey we're all on? Now, let's talk about why this ancient story still matters to us modern folk. When Gil rages against Death, crying over Enkidu's body for 7 days and nights, refusing to let him be buried until a maggot falls from his nose. Now that's grief. Listen to these words from the epic. Gilgamesh, where are you hurrying to? You will never find the life for which you are looking. When the gods created man, they allotted to him death, but life they retained for their own keeping. That right there is the bitter truth wrapped in poetry. We're all just passing through the world. The question isn't how to live life forever, it's how to live well with the time that we have. Between now and next Tuesday, I want you to think about how Gil's journey reflects universal human concerns. What might this ancient king say to us today about friendship or ambition or acceptance? And remember what Gil learned the hard way. It ain't about cheating death. It's about embracing life. So go now and live yours to the fullest.